He stayed too long. That's the sentence I couldn't shake, because it sounded so small when I tried to explain it. Like I was being dramatic. Like I was some insecure guy counting minutes. But when your girlfriend tells you it's just a conversation with her ex, and then you watch that conversation turn into something else inside the home you share, time stops being a detail and starts being proof. Hey viewers, before we move on, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want more real relationship stories like this. And if you have your own story, send it to me. My contact info is in the description. Thanks. Her name was Liana, and for a long time I thought I got lucky. We weren't flashy. We weren't the couple posting every date night like it was a performance. We were the quiet kind of happy. The kind you build out of routines, grocery runs, weekend plans, the same 2 mugs in the morning, the same spot on the couch at night. She'd put her feet under my leg and steal my hoodie even though she had 5 of her own. I'd pretend to be annoyed and feel proud that she felt safe enough to do it. I wasn't blind. I knew relationships settle. The rush fades. Real life moves in. But I liked real life. I liked coming home and knowing who was there. I liked stability. I liked being someone's place to land. And Liana played that role perfectly. Until she didn't. It started with a name I hadn't heard in months. Ethan. She didn't bring him up in some dramatic way. No big announcement, no confession. Just a casual mention while we were cleaning up after dinner, like she was talking about a coworker. Ethan texted me today, she said. I didn't react right away, but something tightened in my chest. Her ex wasn't a stranger in my head. I'd seen him in old pictures before she deleted them. I'd heard his name in stories she told like they were funny memories. I knew he was her first serious relationship. The one she called intense. The one she described as complicated. The one she claimed she'd outgrown. So when she said his name like it was nothing, it felt like she was testing the temperature of the room. What did he want? I asked. She shrugged. Just talking. He said he's been thinking about stuff. Stuff. That's how she said it. Like it didn't matter enough to explain. I kept my voice calm. Why is he texting you? Because we ended badly, she said, and he wants closure. He said he's sorry. I nodded slowly like I was a mature adult who understood all that. Inside, I didn't like it. Closure is one of those words people use when they want permission to reopen a door they claim they've already closed. It sounds responsible. It sounds emotionally intelligent. But half the time, it's just an excuse to see if the other person still cares. I didn't say that out loud. I just said, okay. And Liana smiled like she'd expected a fight and was relieved I didn't give her one. Over the next couple weeks, Ethan became a background noise in our relationship. A notification she'd tilt her phone away for. A smile that didn't fully reach her eyes. A sudden need for privacy when she used to talk to everyone on speaker while she cooked. Little things. Small shifts. The kind that don't look like proof when you list them out but feel heavy when you live with them. One night I came home and she was on the balcony with her phone pressed to her ear, pacing like she couldn't sit still. When she saw me, she turned her body away and lowered her voice. That was new. Later, when I asked who she was talking to, she said, Ethan. He was just venting. I didn't push, but my tone sharpened anyway. Venting about what? She rolled her eyes. His job, his life, he's struggling. So you're his therapist now? I asked. Her face changed. Not guilty, not flustered, just irritated. I'm just being nice, she said. You don't have to be like this. Being nice. That phrase became her shield. If I questioned anything, I wasn't being understanding. I wasn't being secure. I wasn't being mature. I was being like this. So I stopped asking. I told myself I was doing the right thing. I told myself I trusted her. I told myself she'd shut it down on her own once she got tired of carrying his emotions. But it wasn't shutting down. It was growing. She started taking calls outside. Started stepping into the bedroom and closing the door. Started texting at night with her brightness turned low. I could feel her attention splitting, like someone had taken a knife and carved a second lane through her mind. One evening, I tried to make it normal again. I cooked dinner. Not quick food. Real dinner. The kind she liked. I cleaned the kitchen while it cooked. I set the table. 2 plates, 2 glasses. Like I was putting a flag down in our life, reminding both of us we still existed. She came home and kissed my cheek, but her eyes looked distracted. Her phone buzzed and she checked it immediately. I didn't even have to ask. "Ethan?" I said. She sighed. "Yeah." I waited for the follow-up, but she didn't offer one. She just sat on the couch and started typing, thumbs moving fast, like she was trying to keep up with him before he lost patience. I felt something tighten inside my throat. "Are you okay?" I asked. She nodded without looking up. "Yeah, I'm just tired." That's when it hit me. She wasn't tired from work. She was tired from juggling. The real turning point wasn't when she texted him. It wasn't when she called him. It wasn't even when she hid the screen from me. It was the day she told me she was meeting him in person. We were both home. It was cold outside, the kind of cold that makes everything feel sharper. Liana was in the kitchen, leaning on the counter with her phone in her hand. I was on the couch, scrolling through something I didn't even care about. She cleared her throat. "Ethan wants to talk in person," she said. I looked up slowly. "In person?" She nodded like she'd already decided. "He's nearby. He just wants to clear the air. It won't take long." It won't take long. That was her other favorite phrase. I put my phone down. "Why does it have to be in person?" "Because he won't stop texting," she said. "I want it to be over." I held her gaze. "Then do it over the phone. Or text him that you're done talking." Her eyes flickered. "That feels harsh." Harsh. She was more afraid of being harsh to him than being disrespectful to me. I sat back and exhaled through my nose. "Where are you meeting?" She hesitated for half a second. "Downstairs, like near the building." That answer was too vague to feel honest. I said, "Okay, but I'm not comfortable with you meeting him alone." Her face hardened. "I'm not doing anything wrong." "I didn't say you were," I replied. "I'm saying it makes me uncomfortable." She threw her hands up slightly. "You're making this weird." There it was again. Making it weird. Like my boundaries were an inconvenience. I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to be the boyfriend who stands in the way of closure. I didn't want to hand her a story where I was the controlling guy and Ethan was the misunderstood ex. So I stayed calm. I said, "Fine, talk to him. But keep it outside." She nodded quickly, like that was the whole discussion. "Sure, I'll be right back." She grabbed her coat and walked out. I watched her through the window for a moment because my body moved before my pride could stop it. She walked with purpose, phone in her hand, like she already knew he was waiting. Then she disappeared out of sight. I tried to distract myself. I tried to focus on dinner. I tried to convince myself I was overthinking. Then I heard the elevator. The ding was loud in the quiet apartment. The hallway footsteps followed. The key turned. I expected Liana to walk in alone. She didn't. She walked in with Ethan behind her, like it was normal, like it was natural, like the only reason he wasn't here sooner was because nobody had thought to invite him. My brain froze for a second. Liana spoke fast, eyes darting. "It's freezing out there. He just came up for a minute. We're just going to talk, and then he'll leave." She said it like she'd done nothing wrong. Ethan looked around like he was checking out a place he used to know. He was taller than I expected, broader, clean haircut, that confident posture that says he's not here to apologize, he's here to reclaim. He looked at me and smiled like we were meeting under friendly terms. "Hey man." I didn't move. My mouth felt dry. "Why are you in my apartment?" Liana stepped closer to me, touching my arm like she could soften the moment. Babe, it's fine. It's literally just a conversation. Just a conversation. That phrase was starting to feel like a lie she repeated until she believed it. Ethan walked toward the couch without being invited, like his body already knew where to go. Liana sat beside him, not across from him. Beside him, close enough that their shoulders nearly touched. I stood there for a second, then turned back to the kitchen because I didn't trust myself to speak. I tried to act normal. I stirred the food. I listened to the pan sizzle. I told myself to breathe. But the sound behind me was louder than the stove. Their voices dropped into that private tone people use when they share history. Ethan laughed at something. Liana laughed back. And it wasn't her polite laugh. It was the laugh she used when something hit a memory. Warm, comfortable, familiar. My chest tightened. I heard Ethan say her name softly. She responded instantly. I gripped the counter, knuckles going white. This was my home. I shouldn't have been the one holding my breath in it. Minutes passed. Not one or two. Not a quick talk. Not closure. It turned into a hangout. At one point, I walked out and said dinner was ready, hoping it would force an ending. Liana looked up and smiled like I was a waiter interrupting a table. Okay, she said. We'll eat in a bit. In a bit. Ethan didn't move. He didn't even pretend he was leaving. He just leaned back on the couch like he belonged there. That's when I realized something that made my stomach drop. He wasn't acting like a guest. He was acting like a person who knew he could stay. I went back into the kitchen and stared at the table I'd set for two. 2 plates, 2 glasses. A meal I made to bring her back to us. And there she was, giving her comfort to him instead. I wasn't trying to spy, but the apartment wasn't big. Their voices carried. I heard Ethan say something about missing her. I heard Liana say, I know. Then her voice got lower, softer, like she was soothing him. And then I heard her say something that made my heart sink. I didn't stop thinking about you either. It wasn't loud. It wasn't meant for me. But I heard it anyway. I stepped out of the kitchen. They didn't notice me at first. They were too focused on each other. Ethan's hand was resting on the back of the couch behind her. Not on her, but close enough to be a claim. Liana's body was angled toward him, like she was leaning into the gravity of something old. I stood there, silent. Liana finally looked up and her eyes widened like she'd forgotten I existed. I held her gaze, and in that moment, Ethan leaned in and kissed her. Not a quick peck, not a confused accidental moment. A kiss that had intention. Her hand lifted and touched his sleeve like she was steadying herself, like she wanted it. That's when my body went cold. Liana pulled back fast, eyes panicking. Ethan leaned back like nothing happened, like it was normal, like he'd done it before. I didn't yell, I didn't scream, I didn't say some dramatic line. I just stared at her and felt something inside me detach. Liana stood up quickly, words spilling out. It's not what it looks like. I let out a short laugh that sounded dead. You're kidding. She shook her head, tears already forming. He just kissed me. I didn't mean for that to happen. Ethan spoke calmly, almost amused. It wasn't one-sided. Liana snapped at him. Ethan, stop, stop. That word again, like she was still managing him, still trying to keep him comfortable. I looked at Ethan. Get out. He raised his hands like I was the one being irrational. All right, I'm going. He stood slowly, like he had all the time in the world. Before he left, he looked at Liana and said, text me, not quietly, not ashamed. Text me. Then he walked out and shut the door behind him. The apartment felt wrong after that, like someone had dragged mud through it. Liana turned to me, crying. Please, I swear, it was just a conversation. He was emotional. He said he missed me. I didn't know how to stop it without hurting him. I stared at her. So you protected him from hurt and handed it to me instead. Her face twisted. That's not fair. Fair. That word almost made me smile. She'd brought him into our home. She'd sat next to him. She'd said she didn't stop thinking about him. She'd let him kiss her. And she wanted to talk about fairness. I took a slow breath. You said it would be quick, I said. She wiped her cheeks. It was quick. I looked around the apartment like I needed the walls to confirm what I'd lived. Quick doesn't mean bringing him inside. Quick doesn't mean sitting on the couch with him like you're back together. Quick doesn't mean kissing him in front of me. Her voice lifted in frustration. It was one kiss, one kiss. That was her defense. Like one betrayal is acceptable as long as it's not multiple. I nodded slowly. Then I said, "You're right." Her eyes widened like she'd finally gotten through to me. And then I said, "It was one kiss." And it was enough. I walked into the bedroom and grabbed a duffel bag. Liana followed instantly, panic rising. "What are you doing?" I didn't answer. I opened drawers. I pulled out clothes. I moved with calm hands. My body was steady. My heart felt like it was carved out. Liana stood in the doorway, crying harder. "Please don't do this. Please, we can talk." I zipped the bag and looked at her. "We've been talking," I said. "You just weren't listening." She shook her head. "You're leaving me over one moment." "No," I replied. "I'm leaving because you didn't think I'd leave at all." That sentence hit her harder than any insult. Her face went still. Then her voice dropped, smaller. "I didn't think it would go that far." I nodded. "That's the problem. You let it go far enough that he felt comfortable kissing you in our living room." She covered her mouth, sobbing. I walked past her, bag in my hand. She grabbed my arm, desperate. "Please, I love you." I stopped and looked down at her hand. Her grip was tight, but it wasn't love that held on that hard. It was fear of consequences. I turned my head toward her. "If you loved me the way you're saying, you would have stopped it before it got to this. You would have made him leave the second he crossed a line. You would have protected us, not him." She gasped, trying to breathe through tears. I pulled my arm gently away. I walked to the front door and opened it. Liana's voice followed me, cracking. "Where are you going?" I looked back at her one last time. "Somewhere I'm not treated like the backup plan." Then I left. I sat in my car for a while, hands on the steering wheel, staring straight ahead like my eyes would blur the pain if I didn't blink. My phone buzzed. "Liana. Please come back." Then again. "Liana, I blocked him." Then again. "Liana, it was a mistake." I stared at those messages and felt something shift again. Not anger, relief, because I finally understood what I had been refusing to accept. If she could let him stay that long, it meant she wanted him there. If she could let him kiss her, it meant she didn't fear losing me. She feared being alone. I drove to my brother's place that night. He didn't ask for the full story. He just opened the door and said, "You okay?" I said, "No." And he nodded like that was enough. The next morning, I went back to the apartment while she was at work. I didn't destroy anything. I didn't make a scene. I didn't leave revenge notes like a movie. I just took what was mine. Clothes, laptop, a couple things I cared about, the framed photo of my dad. I left the rest. Because I wasn't trying to punish her. I was trying to save myself. When she came home and realized what happened, she called me over and over. I answered once. Her voice broke immediately. "Where are you?" I said. "Not there, why are you doing this?" she cried. "I told you I blocked him. I told you it meant nothing." I closed my eyes. "It meant something," I said quietly. "It meant you let another man feel comfortable in my home with you." She started to speak, but I cut in. "And the worst part is, you still want me to believe it's small. You still want me to shrink it down so you don't have to carry what you did. Her breathing was uneven. Then she whispered the truth without meaning to. I didn't think you'd actually leave. My stomach went calm. I said, I know. That's why I had to. Silence. Then her voice turned sharp with panic. So what now? I stared at the wall in my brother's kitchen, feeling emptier than I ever had, but also strangely clear. Now I learn what it feels like to be chosen by myself, I said. Then I hung up. People think leaving is about anger. It's not. Sometimes leaving is what happens when your love finally runs out of excuses. She said it was just a conversation, but he stayed too long. And she let him. So I left. Hey viewers, if this story hit you, make sure you subscribe for more.